How many of you know Matt Collins?
Not a soul, I don't think.
None of you, right? You will get it back. But that's not my question. How many of you know something in answer to the question I didn't even ask? There you go. Okay. Matt is the youth minister at Jefferson Avenue
Correct.
in Cookieville. And he's the last of our 4 speakers this week. We've had some great lessons this week. And I've got a surprise for you at the end of our lesson. At the end of our lesson tonight, we've got something really special to share with you, okay? I'm going to hand out autographed pictures with me. How many of you are excited about that? Yeah! That'll make it. Autographed pictures with me. Hey, Matt, we're glad to have you with us, and pleased that you're going to be sharing your lesson. So, hey, let's listen up, and here we go.
All right. Hey, I'm thankful to be here tonight with you. Excited to be out this way. Don't ever come down this way much. So glad to be here with you tonight. Like I said, my name is Matt Collins. From Cookeville, been there for a couple of years. Originally from Nashville, moved up here a few years back. My wife is in the back corner. Macy and our little daughter Hattie is back there. She is almost 2, and she's probably scared of all of you. So that's just how it happens. But that's right, she's precious. She's a lot of fun. So we're glad to be here with you tonight. We had some LTAP on the way in, so you know we're set in Sparta, so we're doing all right. Here's what I'm going to do to start out with tonight. I'm going to give everybody an index card, okay? Can you help me do this? Perfect, okay. If you'll give all the teens an index card, parents are off the hook, but teens, you can grab one of these, and then I'm going to enlist your help too to give everybody a pen. How about that? Can you do that for me? Okay. Teens, you get a pen and an index card, and what you're going to do is for the first 5 minutes, roughly, tonight, I want you to get in groups of 3 or 4, not yet, okay? But groups of 3 or 4, and on your index cards, you're going to discuss as a group together, and you're going to come up with a definition for the word independence, okay? A definition for the word independence. Write it down, and then in a few minutes, we'll talk about it for a minute, and then in a few minutes, I'm going to come, and you're going to nominate one person from your group, and your group is going to share your definition with us. Does that make sense? So 3 or 4 in the group, definition for independence, and then you're going to share with us what your definition is. Got it? Okay. When you get your stuff, break off to your groups, and then we'll come back together in just a second, okay? Got it? Thanks. You can start that right now. You can go somewhere if you want to. Done. Thanks so much. Say that again. A definition for independence. Yes. So you can look at each other, you can talk to each other. That's how this works typically, right? A definition for the word independence. Make sure you write it down so you don't forget it. Yeah, if you know how to spell it, look right behind me, okay? That's how you spell independence, I think. I'm going to give you like 3 more minutes, so crunch time. All right, about another minute or so. All right, hopefully you're got that completed, finished up. We're going to come back to that in a second. So each group of people, okay, one person will share what you came up with, all right, in just a few minutes. But before we get there, a few months ago, I had a friend of mine in youth ministry, and he conducted a survey with his teens. His youth group is a little over 200 individuals. And he did a survey, and he said, okay, guys, if you could ask your parents one question, what would it be? No, that's not true. He said, if you could tell your parents one thing, what would it be? If your parents could learn one thing about you, you could have them know one thing about you, what would you have them know, okay? And so out of over 200 teens, he did this survey, and they all responded back, and then he collected the 14 most popular answers. I'm not sure why he chose 14, but he did. So he chose the 14 most popular answers. He shared those results. And out of those 14, one of the top 14 answers that these kids said, I wish my parents knew this about me or understood this about me. One of those things was, I wish my parents would give me a little more independence. Okay? Now, would anybody in this room agree with that statement? What do you think? Anybody? No, y'all are comfortable where you're at? Okay? You want more independence? Anybody else? So y'all would have been like way opposite, right, of all these people in Nashville. Okay, so it was really cool. So out of all these people, one of the top things, one of the top 10 out of 14 things that were said was, hey, I wish my parents understood that I could handle a little more independence. All right, and I think if we're really honest with ourselves, a lot of us as young people probably have thought that at some point or another. So that survey and those results led me to kind of this discussion and this conversation, and I want to start off by saying this. We, us tonight, need to have a DTR when it comes to independence. Now, question, what's a DTR? Anybody know what DTR is? Any idea DTR? Is this not said in Sparta these days? DTR? DTR for this purpose tonight means determine or define the relationship. Now, let me tell you something really quickly about DTRs back in the day. All right, way back in my day, right? I'm almost 27, so it's been a long, long time ago, okay? So, DTRs, define the relationship. Anybody in this room, okay, that has ever been in or is currently in a relationship with somebody else, okay, especially those of you who are married, all right, at some point in time, you had a moment where you had to define what you were, right? Let me tell you about my moment, okay? My wife's back there. I remember we were in college. We have known each other since we were little kids. We grew up together in the same church, same town, yada, yada, yada. True love story, right? And so I remember as a kid, I knew Macy, had a crush on Macy. She didn't care, right? Dated somebody else, whatever. But I still won because I married her eventually, okay? So, but fast forward to college, all right? My sophomore year in college, her freshman year in college, and I remember there was a night where it's like, okay, tonight I'm going to ask this person to be my girlfriend, okay? So I'm going to do, all right? And so I knew it was the time for the DTR. I've got to define this thing. What are we? Where is this going? What's happening here? And I was nervous, right? So I drove around campus by myself for a long time, and I drove around, thinking, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? I actually picked up a friend of mine and drove them around campus, and I was like, okay, should I say this? Should I say this? Should I say this? I don't really know what I'm supposed to say to Macy because I'm just nervous to like say, hey, be my girlfriend, right? It's a nerve-wracking thing. And so eventually I picked Macy up and we were driving around, okay? And I wanted it to be really, really smooth, right? I didn't want it to be awkward, right, which it already was, okay, or uncomfortable, which it already was. And so I remember what I said, and she may not even remember this, but I remember what I said to her. All right, I said, Macy, and I wasn't like as confident as I'm seeming right now, but I said, Macy, right? When people ask you what we are, what do you say? And I was like, oh yeah. Now she's got an answer, right? Like, pressure's off me. And she probably said, like, I don't know, you're stupid or something. I don't know what she said. But I don't remember how that went after that. But I remember what I said. When people ask you what we are, what do you say, right? And, then I said, I would like to say that you're my girlfriend. Boom, done, see ya. Married, have a kid, all over, right? It's great. But at some point in time, we had to define the relationship. And I think tonight, for us, okay, tonight, we need to have a DTR moment. We need to define what independence is, okay? We got to figure it out. So, here's what I'm going to do, all right? I want each little group here, okay? I'm going to start on this side, okay, because y'all look confident over here, all right? And if you have a group, I want you to tell me how your group defined independence. You with me? Does that make sense? Okay, so start over here. Who is your person? Who wants to tell us? Okay, how'd you define it?
We define it like that we all depend on other people and ourselves.
Okay, depending on other people and yourself. Okay, very good. What else? Let's go right here. How about that? Anybody? Right, gotcha. Okay, who's over here? Who's our person? Standing alone or different. I like it. Okay, let's go. Boom. Self-sufficient. I like it. Back here. Who's back here? This is a group. Is this a group? Freedom to do what you want to be free. Okay, I like it. This group right here. Who's our guy?
To be declared free from another power and to be on your own.
Okay, declared free from another power or on your own. About right here. Is this all one big group or is this two different groups? Right here. Mature enough to handle things on your own. Very good. Okay, what about this group right here? Self-sufficient, doing more things. So I think we can all see there's kind of something that we have in common, right? Doing things on your own, self-sufficient, that kind of stuff. So here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that many times, okay, and this is not like just as young people, but just as anybody, many times I think we define independence as the absence of rules, expectations, and punishment. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of times we view independence as I'm doing my own thing the way I want to do it, how I want to do it, because I want to do it. Does that make sense? And so we want to get away from any kind of rules, any kind of expectations, any kind of punishments, right? And so a lot of times that results, okay, quite possibly in something maybe not as good as what we thought it would be, right? And so when we seek independence in a way that says I'm running away from rules, I'm running away from any kind of punishment, parents, expectations, jobs, bosses, whatever, right? I want to do things on my own, how I want to do them. A lot of times I think that we find, and when you do that, you will find probably in your life that maybe it wasn't quite what you thought it would be, right? It's not as easy as what we thought it would be, okay? As my dad would tell my brother a lot, the bill's going to come sometime, right? You got to figure it out, okay? So tonight, if you have your Bible, I want you to go to Luke chapter 15, okay? Luke chapter 15 is where we're going to be. Tonight we're going to camp out right there. For the most part, we'll go to one other passage tonight. But Luke 15 is where we are going to hang out, okay? If we don't figure out, and I hope that we will by the end of the night, if we don't figure out what independence is, it's going to be really hard for us to kind of move in the same direction. So I want us tonight to kind of figure this idea out. And through looking at Luke 15, I hope that we do tonight to figure that out. So Luke chapter 15 is we're going to start. This is a chapter of parables, stories that Jesus tells, And these stories are all about lost things, lost people, lost sheep. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But Luke 15, beginning in verse 11, is where we're going to be, okay? So here's what it says. And Jesus says, there was a man who had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that's coming to me. And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all that he had and took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields and to feed pigs. And he was longing to to be fed with the pods the pigs ate, but no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise, go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him, felt compassion, ran, embraced him, and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring quickly the best robe, put it on him, put a ring on his hand, put shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf, kill it. Let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost, now he's found. And they began to celebrate. Now, his older son was in the field, and he came and drew near to the house. He heard music and dancing. He called one of the servants, and he asked him what these things meant. And they said to him, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has received him back safe and sound. But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him, but he answered to his father, look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him. And he said to him, son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours, and it was fitting to celebrate and be glad. For your brother who was dead is alive. He was lost, and now he is found. Okay? So, off the bat, okay, does anybody have any thoughts about this parable at all? Did anything strike you as interesting, as cool, as neat, whatever? Anything at all?
I guess like the second brother's perspective, because you see like the one brother who did everything he was supposed to do through everyone. He followed, he served, and then his brother who completely screwed everything else, screwed everything up, comes in and just gets a big celebration. So you kind of see what I saw more was just like that anger. And it just resolves with the father saying he was lost and he was found. You never really see the resolution of how his brother felt about it. And that's just kind of like something that stuck in my mind about that parable is what the brother think.
Yeah.
And like, was he okay with that? Did the brother get something in return? And that's just something that I've always kind of wondered
Yeah.
about that.
I'm glad you pointed that out. What's neat to me, and you talk about it right there, you notice what did the older brother say to the father? He didn't say, my brother's back. He said, your son, right? You ever seen your parents, like if you've gotten in trouble, okay, this is an example of what has happened in my house before, okay? I've got a younger brother. If one of us got in trouble, my mom may say to my dad, and my dad may say to my mom, it's not like, hey, Matt's in trouble, John's in trouble. It's like, hey, your son is doing this, right? Not mine, yours, okay? You notice the son there, he says to his father, your son messed this up. He devoured your house and everything you had, right? Yeah, that's a great point. Anybody else? What's interesting here about this passage? Anything? That's cool. That's good. Any other ideas? Nope. Luke 15 is an entire chapter about things being lost and being found, right? We start off and we talk about the lost sheep, and there's a man that's got 100 sheep, and one's gone, and the guy goes and gets the one that's gone. Then we follow that up with a parable about a lost coin, and this woman has 10 coins, loses one, and she finds the one, and then she calls this party to celebrate. I found my coin, right? And then we get to the parable of the prodigal son, who this one is lost, and then he ends up coming back. He's found. Now, this parable is different than the other two before, okay? You've got parable about lost things, and they're all found. They're all lost, they're all found, okay? And so the overwhelming message of this entire chapter is that the Lord celebrates people, okay? He celebrates restoration, right? The Lord celebrates restoration. He is so excited. He is so happy, okay, when someone comes home. And that's the message of the entire chapter, okay? And so I want you to know that. I want you to see that, okay? In all three parables, we see the Lord celebrates restoration in all three of these things, okay? But I don't want to focus on that tonight specifically. I want to go somewhere else with it. If you will notice, there's something different about this last parable that's on the other two, okay? The first one, the sheep is lost. He's lost, okay? The second one, the coin is misplaced, right? The third story, the son runs away, okay? The first two things are lost. The third one, the guy makes a decision to leave, okay? a decision to leave. Now, here's my question. As you have heard this story maybe a lot, or the first time tonight, I don't know which one, okay? But as you've heard that story, as you've read that story, why did the son seek to leave? Any ideas? Why'd he go?
Lust of the world.
Do what?
Lust of the world.
Lust of the world, okay? What else? Why'd he go? Any ideas? We settling on this one right here, right? We're going to shut it down right here, okay? Lust of the world. What I think is interesting here, okay, a couple of things, and I'll tell you why I think he left. First thing is this. When do you get an inheritance? Somebody does what? Somebody dies, right? If you have a parent that dies, or a grandparent that dies, or somebody, an aunt or uncle, somebody close to you that dies, a lot of times they'll leave you something, okay? I had a great-grandma that passed away when I was 17. She left me my great-grandfather's Bible. I never knew him, but it was pretty neat to me, okay? You get an inheritance when somebody dies. What's interesting to me here is this son, he asked for his inheritance like while his father's still living. To me, that indicates he's saying, Dad, you are better off dead. I don't need you anymore. I would rather you be dead than be alive because I want what's coming to me, okay? I want it, right? And so to me, that's crazy, right? Like you would never, hopefully, ever go to your parents and say, listen, Mom, Dad, I wish you would just die so I can get your stuff, right? That's what this kid wanted. He wanted his parents dead to get their stuff, okay? Now, the reason that I think this guy left is because he wanted something that all of us at some point in time want, and that is independence. Give me what's mine, let me take what's mine, and let me go and do what I want to do, right? That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to leave, take his stuff, and be gone, be done, and do what he wanted to do, okay? And we oftentimes want independence. We can't get enough of independence, right? And so we seek after it, seek after it, seek after it, seek after it. And that's what this guy did, okay? And so I don't think a lot of times we're all that different from this guy in Luke 15, you know? You can see story after story and example after example of people in the Bible or people in history, okay? Times change, circumstances change, people oftentimes stay the same, right? And this guy, okay, wanted to leave, take his stuff and go so that he could do his own thing. He was seeking after something we all seek after at some point in time. That's independence. And I think he was working with a definition of independence that we talked about earlier, okay? He wanted to find something that was free, in a sense, to him, that got him away from punishment, from responsibility, from all kinds of stuff, right? So this guy runs, and he goes, okay? So he's off to do his own thing. And I think many of us, when we get what we think is full independence here, okay? Full independence, we're going to find out pretty quickly it's not what we thought. Just like this kid did, right? He got off, he got what he wanted, he did his own thing, and then eventually what happens here? He finds himself eating from pig slop, right? By himself. And he says, you know, I had it a lot better. If I was just my dad's servant, I had it better than what I have right now, okay? We find the same thing all the time, right? We get what we think that we want, and we realize it's not what we wanted at all, right? Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this independence thing isn't really what I thought it was going to be. So he comes back to his dad and says, you know, listen, forgive me, I apologize, make me a servant. And the dad says, no, you're my son. You're my son. We're going to throw a party for you, bring the best robe, kill the best animal, let's have a feast. I'm glad you're here. The message of Luke 15, the whole deal, okay, is about restoration. But I think this kid left because he wanted independence. He wanted to be free, okay? And when he found what he thought was what he wanted, he found out that wasn't it at all. Here's my question for you, and then we're going to kind of move pretty quickly here because I've got a few things I wanted to do with you tonight. What makes us free? If a working definition of independence for the world is freedom from like responsibility and pressure and all this stuff, what like in our spiritual world, what makes us free? What's the working definition over here? Yes. Okay, independence, what makes us free? What do you think? Any other ideas? Good. I told you we were going to go two passages tonight. The first was Luke 15, and we may come back to this. The second is going to be John chapter 8. If you got your Bibles, go to John chapter 8. And Jesus gives us, I think, hopefully, we can understand what sets us free, what gives us true, lasting, real independence. John chapter 8. Okay, Jesus is talking here to some Jews. And oftentimes when you see Jesus talking to Jews, they're not on the same page, right? They rarely are they on the same page, okay? So in John chapter 8, beginning in verse 31, Jesus is speaking to Jews here, and he's talking about freedom. And here's what he says, okay? Verse 31, Jesus says to the Jews who had believed him, if you abide in my word, and you are truly my disciples, in verse 32, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you what? Free. Say that again. If you abide in my word, okay, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you, what did he say? Free, okay? They answered him. We Jews are offspring of Abraham, and have never been enslaved to anyone. How is it that you say you will become free? And Jesus answers him in verse 34, truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. The slave does not remain in the house forever, the son remains forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be free indeed. I know that you're Abraham's offspring, yet you still seek to kill me because of my words. I find no place in you. I speak of what I have seen with my Father, and you do what you have heard from your Father. What's cool about this passage is this. Jesus tells them, if you abide in my word, you'll know the truth. The truth will set you free. We've seen that maybe a lot before, okay? But what's cool here is these Jews say, whoa, okay? That's not possible. Because in order to be set free, you first have to acknowledge that you're in some form of slavery, right? So they say, listen, we are Abraham's, don't you know who we are, Jesus? We are Abraham's offspring, the father of the faithful, Abraham. We're his people. We're not enslaved to anybody, right? And what does Jesus tell them they're enslaved to in verse 34? What are they slaves to? Sin. That's what it says. Anyone, okay, who lives in sin is a slave to sin. What's interesting to me, if you think back to Prodigal Son, Luke 15, okay, his working definition of independence was, I want to get out and I want to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, free from all of these things like responsibilities and punishments and everything else, right? And so Jesus here in John 8, okay, he gives an example of this in Luke 15, and John 8 he tells us, okay, everybody that lives their life in sin is a slave to sin. Now, what makes us a slave today? Because I don't think, we're not going to say today we're slaves to anybody, but we are slaves if we live our lives in sin, because slavery means you are controlled by somebody or something. You are compelled to do something by somebody or something. It controls your thoughts, it controls your actions, it controls your mind, it controls everything about you. It controls your desires, your impulses, your wants, and everything that operates in your brain that causes you to do stuff. If you are a slave to somebody or something, that is what controls you. Now, I want you to think for just a second, okay? When Jesus says, if you are living a life in sin, you are a slave to sin, what he means is the sin that you abide in controls your life, okay? And everything that you do, everything that you think, everything that you want to be, everything that you, or whatever, right? It controls you. Your friendships, relationships, at all, okay? And so if you know people who are living their lives in sin, you can see that. That's something you can physically see. You can watch it happen, right? You can watch somebody be controlled by their sin. And this kid in Luke 15 was the same way. He was controlled. He was enslaved by his own sin. It had him all. Every bit of him it had. And Jesus says, if you abide in my word, you will know the truth. And the truth will set you free. Jesus' life and his word sets us free in two different areas, two different realms. Number one, his life and his word sets us free today and forever. Okay? His life and his word sets us free today because of Jesus, because of his life, because of his word. We don't have to be slaves to sin any day the rest of our life. We don't have to do that, right? And there are people that are living and walking around in this town and in your schools and your jobs and whatever that are slaves to sin. It controls them, right? Everything they do is to try to get, they're thirsting and they're hungry and they're trying to quench that thirst or hunger for sin. So they're doing everything to get that, right? And so what Jesus says is, my life and my word, if you abide in that, that can make you free today, because you don't have to be enslaved to sin on this earth. And it can make you free forever. It gives us the independence that we thought we wanted, but maybe we've never had before. The life that Jesus lived does that for us. And if we live our lives on the alternative, the way the guy did in Luke 15, we find out pretty quickly that this life of sin isn't really what we thought it was going to be. It isn't what we wanted it to be. And so what I want to share with you tonight is a couple of things as we kind of wrap this thing up, okay? Oftentimes, when we are searching for independence, like this guy was in Luke 15, we are doing two things. We are searching for something and running from something, okay? If we're looking to get away in a way that this kid was in Luke 15, we're saying, I want to get away from responsibilities and from people and from actions, from all these things. If we're living our lives in sin, a lot of times we are doing these two things, running from something and searching for something, and oftentimes we're searching for something that's not even there, okay? But we're running away, okay? So I want to ask you this tonight. If you got your cards, you fill this out on your cards, it's just for you, whatever, okay? But ask yourselves, what am I searching for and what am I running from, okay? Because this guy in Luke 15, he was searching to please himself, right? And he was running from anything that he thought wouldn't do that, right? And a lot of times we find ourselves in that very same place. What am I searching for? What am I running from, okay? If my DTR of independence, if I don't define this correctly, I'm going to find myself searching for things that are not there and running from things that are where I should be, okay, a lot of times, all right? And so I want to challenge you tonight. A lot of times when you think about running away and seeking independence that fulfills your own life, or whatever that is, right? When you think about running away, okay, oftentimes we do that because we say, I can't live in my current circumstance. What's happening right now isn't good enough for me, okay? This kid in Luke 15 said, I don't like what I have here. I want to get my stuff, I want to go, do my own thing, right? And so here's what I challenge you to do. When I live, like we said in John 8, when I live my life and I abide in the truth of Jesus, he makes me free today from my sin and forever from my sin. And when I do that, what that allows me to do is that allows me to live every single day, okay, in my current circumstance and responsibilities. Here's what I mean by that, okay? You have the ability to live your life as a father or mother, as a son or daughter, as a friend, as a classmate, as a coworker, whatever. You have the ability to be free from sin and to live in a way that loves and serves other people every single day. That's how you're free, right? That's how you're free, okay? We're not free by running away from our lives, okay? We are free by running towards Jesus and loving and serving people in our walk and how we live in our daily life. That makes us free. Jesus makes us free. And when we find ourselves searching for things that are not Jesus, we will find ourselves unfulfilled every single time. Every single time. Okay? And so I want you to make a commitment tonight to live your life in a way that abides in the words of Christ and that serves and that loves people through your current responsibilities and lives. Whatever it is they are. They're all different, right? Whatever it is, that's how you're free. No other way. Nothing else. Okay? What I want us to do is I want us to have a prayer. And then I was asked by Doug to talk for about 5 or 6 minutes about my experience at Free Harbin. So I'm going to do that for a minute, and then we'll turn it over and have something pretty cool. Okay, let's pray together. Lord, we're thankful for tonight and nights like tonight where we can come, we can study and learn and hopefully grow, Lord. Lord, we are thankful for the ones in this room. Surround us with individuals and people that would help us to be free through you and through your Son and through nothing else. Lord, we know that you love us and that you care about us, and that you are happy when we are restored to you. And so, Lord, I ask that you would put road markers in our life to show us back and show us the way if we run off, like the prodigal son did.